Welcome to an evening edition of Coffee and a Weather Map with Jeff. It is Thursday, November 20th. I know I've been gone away for a while. That's basically because I've been on the loop doing boat things. We have been, as I speak to you now, we are down in Columbus, Mississippi. Wait out a storm here, which we'll get to here in a little bit. And just kind of bring you up to speed. I'm not sure I can do these on a daily basis like I was hoping to, but maybe in the evenings. I don't know. We'll see what happens. When we anchor during some of this, it is also it's difficult to do because then the generator's running and you're going to hear that. I could try and do it on the back deck. I don't know how well that would work. But it might work after all. That'll be something to experiment with over time here. Okay, so let's get started with what's going on in the weather. Although first I want to look at the radar. Okay, drawing up. There we go. So, a couple things to note. There is a pretty widespread area of precipitation in the central part of the country, mainly south of Kansas and Missouri and over into south of the Ohio Valley. We'll talk about what's causing that here in a bit, but the main thing that we've been watching is this line of thunderstorms, and at least with this app I can do this. So there is a cold front roughly in here somewhere, and then another front that goes right around there. And that's going to be continuing to move off here to the northeast. I happen to be somewhere in this general area. So just for a lot of, just for some general ideas, just looking at South Texas in and of itself, it looks like most of the rain, at least right now, is going to stay out of the area. But that will be changing here coming up over the next week. In northern Michigan, we have precipitation coming down. Most of it looks like it's rain. The snow has been pretty much contained in Canada for the time being, although there is some snow that is getting started here in the western part of the Upper Peninsula. That will eventually start to move down towards northern lower Michigan here in a bit. We'll see how any lake effect possibly gets going. All right. So let's take a look at what is causing all these things. We are in looking at least the latest WPC map here, and you've got this area of this cold front that is moving through the western part of the UP in Wisconsin here, getting into the upper Great Lakes. That will move through. It's caused all that rain in general and the snow in Canada. As typical, probably would get a little bit of lake effect on the backside of this. We'll see how far temperatures go. I haven't really looked that far into it at this point. There's that front I was talking about. It takes a little dip there in Arkansas, probably due to some of the thunderstorms in that general area. And then out to the east and off the east coast, there's the cold front that is causing the thunderstorms in Texas, breaking out, and then there's a little trough in here as well. They've had some major issues again in south central Texas, with one spot that I saw having had received over 7 inches of rain in a very short period of time. Just to kind of bring you up on the latest, so that was the 21Z map. Looking at here, this is the 0Z map with the observations and the pressure, but it is the 21Z map of the fronts. Those don't change a whole lot in the span of 3 hours necessarily, but they will here in a bit once WPC updates them. I like the way that, at least College of DuPage does their weather map with this, so that you can kind of see where the front is or has been. And you can kind of tell that there's been some movement, like in this general area. The front should be kind of going through the trough, the surface trough there, but it is not currently. So that means it is a little bit behind, but it is pretty close. So that gives you kind of an idea. You look in northern Michigan, the trough with the cold front has not really moved a whole lot in Wisconsin. Anyway, that's the basic idea of it. Of course, to zoom in on some of these things, we will go in and take a look. You can kind of see it's a little bit more evident here in northern Michigan and lower Michigan, for that matter, that the front's probably somewhere out in this general area, down here by Chicago, and then up through almost Lake Michigan before it joins up to where the current front is at least at 3 hours ago. That is moving through. As we saw on the radar, there was a little bit of precipitation there in western upper associated with the front. Look at the Great Plains for South Texas. A lot of moisture coming in off of the Gulf. No surprise there. Dew points in the mid 60s to almost 70 degrees, or yeah, right around that area. So a lot of moisture to work with. But as the joke kind of has gone, it's like South Texas is where CAPE goes to die, and that is CAPE being the convective potential energy, available potential energy, and that is kind of the thing, is that you can have all sorts of moisture and energy in the atmosphere, but if the front won't push down far enough south, then it's not going to cause anything. And so that was one of the problems that goes on with Corpus Christi in that general area. You won't get a whole lot of lift. You do get the instability, but not enough lift to kick off anything, especially if you want rain, which they're currently in the midst of a drought. They would prefer to have some rain, although it looks like they may get a little bit here coming up. All right, if we go and take a look at the Gulf Coast, and generally where we're at right now, we're in a lower to mid 60s as far as dew points are concerned. Temperatures are falling a little bit down to around that point. So we may end up with a little bit of fog. We'll talk about that here in a bit. Most of the fog, though, is expected to be down here along the Gulf Coast and in the southern parts of Mississippi and Alabama and the panhandle of Florida. All right, so looking at the upper air pattern, lots of support in the upper air. There's this nice big area of jet max that is going through at 500 millibars. It's helping to support that front. The front is somewhere in western upper Michigan, western upper, just on the nose of that jet max. So that's why they're not quite coordinated enough to get a lot of precipitation out of it. Most of the precipitation is here in this section of the jet, so it is helping to get some of the precipitation kicked off. Down in South Texas, most of the forcing at the upper levels is well west of the brush country and north of the Rio Grande Valley, or at least the Rio Grande Plains, where we are concerned with. Corpus, obviously, it's not even near the coast, near Corpus Christi at all. Of course, there is a secondary part of that subtropical jet which goes through just north, going through basically the Tennessee Valley, and then off into the East Coast, where it kind of starts to join in with the polar, excuse me, or joins in with the polar jet coming up there, going off the East Coast. All right, so this is kind of our look here as the sun is setting, so we're losing the visible. We're going in with infrared. You can see where most of the clouds are at this point, going on with all the precipitation. A little earlier I did this. Let's see if it works. Okay, here's the kind composite radar with the satellite image, you can see most of that rain is associated there along the front. There were two fronts, remember, the one that comes down through the upper Great Lakes and then kind of turns, and then there's a second one with that warm front or stationary front that goes through the Tennessee Valley and part of Arkansas over here into Oklahoma, and then the cold front back here in the western part of Texas, more likely in the Panhandle and some of those areas, the Permian Basin. So kind of watching all that general area. In fact, if we zoom in, we'll see in Michigan that some of that precipitation had been over there. There's that precipitation that's associated with the front. Of course, on the latest radar, it's just this stuff in the back, which is kind of falling apart. It looks like this is going to go through as a fairly dry front at this point. But we'll see. Maybe back further we can get into some of the precipitation out of with lake effect. Going through and taking a look at the Gulf Coast region and basically the area where we are currently at, most of the precipitation has gone off to the north. It did get about within 10 miles of us. There were some lightning strikes. I got warned about that from one of the apps that I have that had some of that information in there. Actually, the Alabama Weather Network, they've got a good app with a lot of that, especially if you live in Alabama. And with us traveling very close, at least we're in Mississippi right now, and then we'll be going through southern Alabama and down to the Gulf Coast. It's a good app to have to be able to see what's going on. And the people who run it are some meteorologists out of Birmingham and a few other places there in Alabama. So they do a good job with that one. You can see that the other precipitation, which is coming out of the west, and I didn't turn on the composite radar with this, but basically anything underneath the clouds there is causing precipitation. You can see with this one, I did this loop a little bit earlier with the precipitation with the sunshine out there. But you can kind of see there's a bit of a front out here to the west, and then you've got this other sort of warm front-ish thing looking out. That's a stationary front that WPC has issued. So that's where all the thunderstorms have been going and forcing off of. Woohoo! You can see all of our boat pictures. All right, jump back here. So that gets us to pivotal weather, which I tend to use. Let's see here. I am going to start with, I should have had this one ready. Continental US GFS. Okay, so this is the 18Z run of that. It's the latest one of the GFS. You can see it had all that, the rain. This starts at 6 hours later, which is just right around just about an hour ago. You can see that's going to continue to move west or eastward, and then the low moves out of the area. You see most of the precipitation moves out of South Texas, although it looks like a little bit later, and this is somewhere around, let's see, so does it tell me? There it is, 0Z on the 22nd, so that's tomorrow evening. Might get some rain down in South Texas, especially out in the brush country. It looks like it's trying to do something there as part of the front kind of lays out and just kind of stalls in that general area. If we look a little bit into Alabama and Mississippi, you can see we get rain tomorrow. Most of that is going to occur tomorrow night, evening tomorrow night, so that by Saturday high pressure builds in. And then looking up in Michigan, temperatures, that cold front goes through, And you notice these numbers that we've got here. It says 540, it turns to blue, 534, 528. So those are thickness lines. So a thickness between the 1000 millibar surface, which is roughly at the surface, to 500 millibars, which is about halfway through the atmosphere, at least pressure-wise. And the lower the number, the colder it is. They're analogous to temperature lines, and we would use this. The 540 line is considered a critical thickness because roughly half, it's a 50-50 shot on whether the temperature is cold enough to support snow. And you can kind of see that it does in some places, but doesn't in others. So 534 is a better indicator there of things being mostly snow, at least behind it, and then 528 and so on. The temperatures are falling when they get into Michigan. It looks like it's more of a glancing blow as far as lake effect is concerned, although I would say the GFS is not the best at picking up on lake effect possibilities. All right, let's take a look at some of these a little bit closer. And for the next couple of hours, so we are going to use the HRRR. We'll start in the Midwest there since we were talking about lake effect possibilities. Now this one's a little bit better at picking up the possibility of rain showers, or I mean snow showers. So it's got some rain in there. You can see those critical thicknesses. I don't know if it does if we're doing, yeah, we're at precipitation with type, so it's expecting most of this is going to be rain. Just because it rains and it's a 534 thickness does not mean you're going to get ice. It doesn't mean you're below zero at the surface or freezing at the surface. You can see that some of it eventually cools off enough that you are expecting to get some snow, which would be not until tomorrow afternoon. So there probably is a little bit of a lake effect component trying to get going. The HRRR is actually not bad at picking up that. Yeah, let's just do this. The ARW, the WRF ARW actually, in my estimation, does this really well. Get rid of that. I don't know what that was. Let's see. And it goes out about 48 hours. Gotta let it pick up, load in the model data. Okay, it's not showing a whole lot going on. So there's a little bit of a disturbance trying to go through here in the north. But for the most part then, once it gets out, well, there's a little bit of lake effect streamer there. There's one over in the central part of the UP and one over here in the eastern part of the UP / into just north of Sault Ste. Marie, Canada. So that's something to keep an eye on. Like I said, the ARW does a halfway decent job with that. Not real impressed with its thunderstorm capabilities during the day, during the summer months, but during the wintertime, it does seem to do pretty well with lake effect. All right, let's see here. Well, we'll head down to the southeast, and we'll take a look at some of what's going on here. You can see those thunderstorms trying to move across by tomorrow morning as they go through Arkansas, northwestern Mississippi, but it looks like they're going to come really close to coming towards us, and then they're going to fall apart. And there's going to be some during the afternoon. Wouldn't be surprising. That's pretty much when we're expecting a lot of that activity to kind of come through. Then it looks like maybe some showers. My guess is that once it's through, that we'll be done with most of the precipitation, especially if at night after the front is through. Oops, that's not what I wanted. There we are. And I want, where's this? Ah, South Central US. So that's GFS. Do I not have that for the HRRR? Well, we can fix that. All right. So at 0Z, 18Z, those time frames, which we only really need 0Z. The HRRR goes out 48 hours. It's not as stilted as it is at any other time. But there's the rain going through tonight. Doesn't look like it wants to build very far south, at least initially, until much later, like the GFS was showing. And it might even be a little overly zealous on some of that. We take a look at the European here in a bit. But the idea is that overnight and then early tomorrow morning, that the rain goes through northwestern Mississippi and into Tennessee, and then it's sometime during the afternoon, about 17Z, which is for here in the central time zone, we're looking at 11, and then that's 12 o'clock noon on the 21st. So that's tomorrow by noon, and then it looks like that's coming through about that time in the afternoon, and then we looks like everything starts to quiet down after that, which is kind of what we're expecting. And the high pressure builds back into the area so that by Saturday I can leave. We are at the Columbus Marina due to the fact that we are expecting the thunderstorms to roll through. So we figured we kind of wait on things until we got going. But looking at South Texas, you can see in the last few frames we start to get some of the precipitation popping up there in the coastal plains, actually, and a little bit of the brush country. So we'll see. I did see that one of their local meteorologists on TV was going to explain how they're going to get some rain and how it is going to be beneficial, and then it might end up stretching out quite a bit. Let's see here, which would be good for the region if that's what's going to happen. So here's the European for South Central. And it suggests, yeah, that there is a good little time where there's some rain. Looks like tomorrow afternoon into the evening and then overnight as that front tries to move down, and then a little bit out in the Rio Grande Plains and then the brush country. So it looks like that they could possibly get something through into the weekend there in South Central Texas or South Texas. So we'll see how that goes. The European is pretty much kind of like with what I was describing earlier. We have most of the precipitation. In this case, it shows it in the morning here in Mississippi and probably a little bit into the afternoon before it clears out, and maybe another little round just after overnight at midnight, and then everything kind of starts to clear out. So that kind of brings us up to the next issue that we could run into, which would be fog. Okay, now with the government shutdown all done, we do have the return of DESI, which is a NOAA product that kind of shows the national blended model data. You can see as it's trying to up here what's going on. It starts off with the mean 2-meter temperatures across the region at this current time. Yep. And I am going to pick, at least for tomorrow, we're going to look at the mean high temperatures. And I say mean in the fact that it's an ensemble. The blended models is an ensemble. And so you kind of need to get at least an idea of what's in the middle of everything to get an idea for it. So our high temperatures tomorrow are expected to be through 6 p.m. And let's turn on, the cities are on, but I need to read out at the cities, and we can zoom in and we'll take a look at lower Michigan. Looks like temperatures will be in the lower 40s in northern lower Michigan, and right around 50 or in the lower 50s across lower Michigan, southern lower Michigan. So at least for tomorrow. So the possibility in the mornings, you could still see the possibility of rain showers, snow showers, if there's any lake effect going on after that. But otherwise, not too bad of a day as far as temperatures for this time of year. We'll jump down into the Mississippi, Tenn-Tom and Tennessee and Tombigbee rivers. basically the border of Mississippi and Alabama, going all the way down to Mobile. We're currently somewhere here in just south of Amory. Actually, we're near Columbus, so let's see if it shows up. There's Columbus. It's 74 degrees for a high temperature tomorrow. Yeah, since we will be seeing clouds and thunderstorms, it won't be quite as warm as it was today, but I think it got to about 77 or 78 on our voyage south. If we take a look further on, well, no, we're not going to do that yet. And then if we look in South Texas for the high temperatures tomorrow, we're looking at, looks like mid to upper 80s out in the west and in the brush country, and then mid 80s or lower to mid 80s along the coastal bend as well, and in the Victoria Crossroads. All right, take a look at the next day's temperatures. So this is for Saturday. That front goes through, so you're looking at mid to lower to mid 80s from the coast all the way into the brush country. Maybe a few spots could possibly see some upper 80s as you look over here by just a little bit east of Laredo, where there's some 88s in there. Most of it looks like 87, 86. So, mid 80s across it. So for this time of year, it's still a little warm, but it's not as not on a whole too bad compared to the summertime. For tomorrow, or I mean for Saturday. No, for Saturdays. That is not tomorrow. Anyway, we're looking at temperatures getting back in the mid to upper 70s. Hopefully by that time we will be on our way, and we will be getting back into Alabama as we head towards Demopolis, at least at some point here in the upper peninsula, or in Michigan. We are looking at again lower to mid 40s across most of the lower peninsula, and then right around 40 in the upper peninsula. So it's going to be at least a little bit more mild for that time of day. All right, so let's look at Sunday. Looks like things are going to warm up. Looks like we are looking at mid 40s to the lower 50s again on Sunday. We get into here. Cold front has gone through here that we've been looking at. Looks like we are going to be in the lower 70s as we approach Demopolis on Sunday. And anybody who's going down into Mobile can probably see temperatures staying in the mid 70s across the region. If you're heading east into Florida, looks like they're going to be getting closer to 80. And if you head west into Mississippi and Louisiana, you're in the mid 70s, maybe a few upper 70s in there as well. Okay, and then South Texas, we are looking at lower to mid 80s across most of the area, except for out in the west. Laredo looks like it's going to be around 88 degrees. And again, there, right along the beaches, we're going to see temperatures right around 80 degrees. Water temperatures have cooled off quite a bit, and I think they're in the lower 70s, maybe even upper 60s at this point. So, not great for swimming, but if you like to surf, fish, and such, it is going to be a pretty nice day out there. Although I say that without actually having looked at what we're expecting. Or actually, I did. So there is thunderstorms that are expected in South Texas going across there until through that time period. And just like I said, over in we should have high pressure built in for Saturday and Sunday for us in Mississippi and Alabama. And one more place to look, Midwest on the European. And we'll reset the timeline. There's the rain that goes out, a little bit of snow, and then boom. And yeah, so they get another, looks like there might be some sort of northern clipper that tries to move by, and looks like it gets the eastern UP a bit. Otherwise, doesn't really do a whole lot going into northern lower Michigan at that point through Sunday. All right, and with that, I will close this out. Been kind of a little, at least an initial experience or experiment with this. Hopefully you found this interesting and useful. Let me know in the comments. If you like and subscribe. You can find it on YouTube as the live stream, or you can, I will probably upload this as well to the website and also to the social media sites, recreational.weather on Facebook and Instagram, as well as then South Texas and northern lower Michigan recreational weather or lower Michigan recreational weather. Anyway, that's what I've got for now. Have a good night.